Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. Today, I have for you some updates from last week's episode, and then we're going to get into the meat of the matter, of course. So we'll take a quick break. I'll come right back.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.
Welcome back. First of all, I have to apologize to Mr. Ricardo Douglas. He said to me that he was in no way attached to the Up and Up concert, and neither was he to the national song. And so I do apologize. I knew that you yourself told me that you were involved in the production of the anniversary celebration. And knowing you and your creativity, and so I assumed you were a part of everything creative. And so I do apologize for that, Mr. Ricardo Douglas. He was no way connected or attached to that concert, and he wanted me to relate to my daughter that Uncle Ricky would never leave you out of anything like that. He knows your talent. And so I do apologize. But Ricardo and I good. We were going to be good anyways. So after I gave my story, of course, concerning my daughter and the way Grenadians on the whole, I use my daughter because it was close to me, but it's not just her. It's not just her. If you're not in the circle, if you're not, well, they're also maligning NDC supporters if you're not known and you're not in the circle. So it's not just her, but I could speak about her because I had the insight on that, right? However, I got a comment in my on my YouTube channel, on YouTube, of course, and I had to share it with you because it shows the mentality of the people we are dealing with. It's from Sharon Andrew, and my investigation suggests that she's in the diaspora. She lives in New York. And I'm quoting here in part. She said, "You talk too much. Always government this and government that. Now you want your daughter to be part in government business." And I thought I would share it with you because that's not government business. The celebration, the independence celebration has always been the nation's business, has always been a national event, except for this 50th anniversary celebrations. There was never complaints about who's doing what and who is dancing and who is singing and who is hosting. There were never complaints like that before. So it's a mentality that is their time now. And if you oppose the government in any way, then you would be maligned, you would be victimized, you would be blacklisted, you'd be chucked in a corner. And the sad thing about it is we thought it was bad with the NNP. We complained about it. And it's worse. It's worse now. As I said, they are maligning their own. Because maybe you're not in the circle. Well, I'll give you a story because I followed a live last weekend. Actually, that's 3 parts. I followed a live. And this young lady who seemed to me to be strong, to be brilliant, and if I might, that beautiful young lady, a young leader in listening to her. I didn't know her before. It's the first time I've seen and heard her name, to be exact, right? So she's not in the circle. And as she said in her live, she has a home name, Cutie, that everybody calls her. So when she used her official name, even then, apparently, most people didn't know it was one of the same person. She was broken. She was broken by the treatment that was meted out to her by the president of the National Organizing Committee, the NOC, and the director of the Secretariat, that is Miss Wendy Crawford and Miss Gail Purcell, in that order. She is the lead of her constituency, St. Patrick, and she was appointed by the two representatives of that constituency, the Honorable Joseph Andel and the Honorable Dennis Cornwall, through cabinet, of course. So they had to present the cabinet their names, I am assuming, from what I understand, and then cabinet say yea or nay. And she was chosen as the lead for St. Patrick. There, if you look on the screen, you'd see the list of the members of the NOC. Prime Minister is in there representing St. David. And I'm going to be paraphrasing because, of course, I didn't take word for word directly what she was saying, but I'll give you some quotes as well. I'll quote to you exactly what she said in some instances. She started by saying, however, that she was grossly disrespected and embarrassed by the NOC committee, and it spilled over into the youth forum on that was held last Friday. No, from what I saw, it was a well put together forum, and kudos to whoever was responsible. She was treated with scorn, and that's my word. From the description, from what she was saying, she was treated with scorn by the president of the NOC and the director of the celebration committee on secretariat on that day, along with the liaison officers. So much so that she left the forum prematurely and went home. Mind you, she was there in the capacity as an official, right? This young lady, of course, because she is on the committee, she is representing her parish on the NOC. She went through, in my opinion, from listening to her, a traumatic experience. It was a very traumatic experience, which she said led her to tears. Now, would you believe this young lady seemed very smart, brilliant, qualified, represented Grenada as a young leader for Grenada during the NNP reign. She was the president of the Senate in the youth parliament. She has several accolades behind her name as a youth. And I told you she's an NDC supporter, member / member. And all of this happened during the NNP time. She got those accolades, yeah. Now, no, she has applied. She has applied for a job, so she is unemployed at the moment here in Grenada. She applied for jobs, and to date, nothing. And she's saying that she's not looking for preference because she's an NDC, she should get a job. She's qualified and she's hoping to get a job by merit. And she has not gone to any one person and say, I apply, look for my CV, my application. She applied as any normal person and is in waiting. This young lady said she had a job in Canada. She was given a job and left the job and came back home so she can volunteer her services. Listen to the word, volunteer her services for the celebrations. And you know, it's only the small people that is volunteer. The big people going home with a bag of money, everybody had a pouch going home with, they ain't messing with that. But the little people always have to volunteer their services. She said, and I quote, I must quote this. She said, I am not politically blinded. I might be politically affiliated, but I'm not politically blinded. I loved it when she said that. I was like, wow. She seemed to think that she has been treated badly as a result of her speaking up and speaking out. In other words, putting her foot down on certain matters. And she promised to tell the story after the full story after the celebration, because she said there that she didn't want to blindside anybody and make people feel away. And some people may say, well, they're not going to the event. She wanted the event to flow and for people to go and enjoy and be a part of it. In my opinion, that's a patriot. She actually made a comparison to what happened to her with the NNP and said what happened to her now, right? With the NNP, and said that would have never happened under the NNP. And that's a quote as well. Well, as I said, she being an NDC and apparently not a hidden NDC, outspoken, maybe in a parish among her peers. She's comparing it that way because NNP never treated her that way. And now that her party is in office, so to speak, she's being treated like that because she stood up for something. Because she stood up for something. She revealed that the people on the NOC do not want her on there because she's a no-nonsense type of person who do not see color, and that's quotation as well. She don't believe in favoritism. She see people, she see country. She said, I see country before party. So they've been trying to get rid of me. End of quote. She gave one of her encounters. She had to leave for Canada during the whole thing while she was a member of the NOC. And she related that to the president of the NOC. It was very important. She had to leave, but we're in the age of computer, if you want to say so. These days, Zoom is a normal thing in our lives. Since after COVID, we kept on Zooming. So she didn't have to miss any meetings or any important events. She could have been a part of it. But she explained that she had to leave and also told them when she would be back. While she was in Canada, she said, they tried to replace her on the committee, saying that they had spoken to her and she had agreed to be removed. Not true. Lie. Somehow she got wind of a meeting that was going to be held where she was going to be removed. And she called on the minister, one of the representatives from St. Patrick, Mr. Andel, and he showed up at the meeting and stopped the whole process. Now, so she's on there, but treated very, very badly. Very badly. And so she was giving her story She said after that, she wrote to the president expressing her disappointment. A very detailed message, she said, letting her know just how she felt. And since then, it got worse. As she said, and I'm quoting, she was treated like cockroach in front of fowl. Her words. But this young lady, through all of this, she wants to see the national celebrations do well. She wants people to attend the function. And she's asking for unity. She continued to ask for unity. And I applaud her. As a young person, to go through what she said she's going through, or has gone through, and it's worse, she's just not going to talk about it right now. It amazed me. It amazed me of how she dealt with it and is dealing with it. She said, I invite everyone to go out there in unity and support the event for love of country. This is for Grenada. She ended by revealing to us, those who was listening, that she has mental health challenges. She has mental health challenges, and that was why she left for Canada. She said she expressed that in confidence to the president, though she has not hidden that fact. She said she speaks about it, and she expressed that to the president of the NDC, who broke her confidence and is now using that condition against her in an effort to remove her from the committee. That is quotation. And you know what? It's an unpaid position. I was very surprised when she said that. It is an unpaid position. Why is it, again and again, why is it the small man is always unpaid? In my mind, that young leader is a champion. From all indications, the youth forum was very successful. Kudos to the planning committee and the young people in attendance who interacted very well. I also want to compliment and congratulate the organizers of the religious concert that was held in Progress Park. Crowd it could have been a better crowd, but you know, Sunday people have things to do. People getting ready for school, taking care of their kids, for work. Although it was free, and all events are free. The ones that are organized by the NDC are free. And my girl Tamika Gilbert, kudos to you. Well done, well done. I'll take a quick break and come right back.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.
I wonder, before I really go into my next update, I want to mention sports. And sports, in my mind, is a unity discipline. And I say so because when persons, young people, adults, whoever get together to play any sort of sport, there's no NDC or NNP. There's no green or yellow. There might be blue, red, orange, whatever the colors are of their uniform. And though it could be very competitive at times, and I know when I used to play netball, my friends and even relatives and so from Anglican High School, I played center court against my cousin who played for Wesley College. And Wesley College at that time had a very strong team. and friends from the Anglican high school. And it becomes very rival, and you at times get that you may not want to talk to them, and you get a little upset, and it's so competitive, you know. But right after that, you're right back together as one. And there's no who playing and who not playing. You play by merit, how well you can play, you make the team. And so the 4 disciplines that was chosen for that sporting event that's coming up on the weekend is a mere drop in the bucket of about 17 disciplines we have here in Grenada. And I think the NOC, I don't want to say the administration, I'm not sure how this NOC works, but I want to say that they missed a splendid chance of bringing out several sporting events that can help or could have helped unite our youth, our young people in this period. Basketball, football, netball, volleyball, lawn tennis, table tennis, badminton, chess, right? So we picked athletics, cycling, sailing, and swimming, right? 4. And we all excited about it. In the year 2023, leading up to 2024, there should have been several competitions. As a matter of fact, at the National Sporting Awards, and I asked about it already, which is an annual event, seemed to have fallen off the calendar this year, when it should have been a big part of the calendar, where we award all of our sterling athletes and sports people from 1974 to date. You know, I was lying in bed this morning and I remember the name Donald Pear for some reason. And I don't know how many of you know that name, maybe my age group and up. But this guy is who paved the way for Aline Francisque and Karani James. He did the middle distances, 400 and 800 races. I remember as a child, I was in primary school, going to the Queen's Park with my bigger siblings to sport meets. And the entire, almost the entire Queen's Park would be around the field when it came down to this guy running a 400 or 800 race. And he was very tall. So you can sit in the stadium, the Queen's Park Stadium, and see his head, right? Or the half of him going around this field. He represented us in a lot of games, regional games, and won. He should be, in my opinion, as one of the heroes of Grenada. He should be named a hero, Mr. Donald Pear. And as I said, he paved the way for these young ones, right? So this was a chance for this committee to start bringing back sports in Grenada, because the NMP and the NDC that gone before, they failed us in a way when it came to sport, and we should have been doing much better as a nation. And where our sport, especially like cricket, where that is today, and I don't want to hear NMP had 20 years. It wasn't together, and I believe, I don't know what can stop an administration from improving on their sporting disciplines in 5 years. I don't see it needs to take more than a year, in my opinion, in the Ministry of Sport, because there's a ministry set aside for sport to start bringing back our disciplines in sport. And so NDC had 2 or 3 terms of 5 years. About 5 years, you know, the one-term thing. I wouldn't say what I have in mind to say right now. Yeah, so they could have done it as well. So don't give me the 23-year crap, you know? And so this was a chance to do so. And they failed at doing so. And so we're doing it with what? Failing. cycling, swimming, and of course, athletics. I just thought I had to say it was it was a missed opportunity, and to award the sporting awards normally be very early in February. I think around the first, right, very early, the first week. And to date, we hear nothing about it. I asked about it before, what's going on there. And I'm getting feedback that it may not happen at that time, which is another big, big, big missed opportunity. As I continue to update, I want you to bear with me because I'm going to repeat a clip from last episode with the Honorable Deacon Mitchell speaking out on faith. And I must do so because the update is on nation builders and it's relevant in relation to this clip.
Moving away from some of the HR challenges, we have a challenge as to how government funds are used. And I'm just going to cite a couple of examples. And some of it has already been in the media. On assuming office, we learned of the existence of an organization, and I always struggle with the name, so let me get the correct name. Have feet. Yes. So let me make sure I don't misquote the name and I give you the correct name. Well, the name changed, so I will give you the original name and the current name. We encountered an organization called Faith Organization for People's Development, Inc. Now, the organization is incorporated under the Companies Act as a not-for-profit company. Therefore, it should be engaged in philanthropic, charitable, religious helping, not to make a profit. Prior to that, it did a name change. Its original name was St. Andrew Southeast Development Organization, Inc. The learned Minister of Education ran for the beautiful constituency of St. Andrew Southeast. So when this entity was incorporated, it was incorporated as a not-for-profit organization called St. Andrew Southeast Development Organization, Inc. The name hints or suggests it was meant to help develop the constituency of St. Andrew Southeast. It subsequently metamorphosized, became a butterfly, and became the name Faith. But I just want to point out something. In 2 years, between 2020 and July of 2022, this company was paid $6.8 million by the government of Grenada. Now, in addition to that, the then Cabinet of Grenada passed a cabinet resolution handing over 3 community centers located in St. Andrews Southeast to that same organization. Community centers meant for the community, meant for use of the people, was handed over to this company, to this not-for-profit company. Now, if you're a not-for-profit company, and if you can convince the government of Grenada in 2 years to give you $6.8 million, what are you providing to the people of Grenada? And how miraculously the only client you have is the government of Grenada. So what were the services they were providing? Apparently, sanitization services, spraying children's hands when they come to school, maybe wiping countertop or chair or whatever, I don't know. But in 2 years, they racked up $3 million in revenues. Not-for-profit companies are required to file financial statements at the company's registry. No financial statements have been filed for 2021, and I doubt any will be filed for 2022. But let's dig a little deeper. Last time I checked, the government of Grenada sometime in February of 2022 dropped all protocols in relation to COVID-19. There was no mask wearing, there was no social distancing, there was no sanitization, there was no insistence on anybody spraying anything. So explain to me between February and July. Elections were in June. And July, what services could you possibly have been providing?
How government funds are used, that line, remember that line, how government funds are used. Now let's run through briefly, for those of you who probably would not have seen last week's episode and not aware of what's going on, let's run through briefly Nation Builders. Now, Nation Builders was officially registered as a non-profit organization, a not-for-profit company. Therefore, it should be involved in philanthropic, charitable, religious helping, not to make a profit, the words of the Prime Minister himself. It was registered in October 2023 following an application to the Attorney General's Chambers in September 2023 by the law firm Mitchell and Co. addressed to the address number 1416 Excel Plaza, Grandin, St. George, the law office of Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. Nation Builders is spearheading the WASH program of the government. The address for the principal office of the company is Unit 2, Hobson House, St. John Street, St. George's, Grenada. The address of Mitchell and Co. sub-office. Nation Builders have 3 directors, Mr. Benedict Peters, aka George Peters, chairman of the NDC St. David branch, of which Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell is the MP. Remember the members of Southeast, all the directors in faith are from Southeast St. Andrew, right? Because of course it was a Southeast Development Company before agency. Then there is Marie Benjamin, the girlfriend of Mr. Orlando Romaine from Montouche. Her address is said to be from Montouche. No, we know who Mr. Orlando Romaine is. In my opinion, he is right up there under the armpit of the Prime Minister. Then we had Dorcina Serene Noel of Soubise St. Andrew. They were appointed on the 12th of September 2023. Now, we also know that the WASH program was launched on the 30th of September 2023. Pay attention to the dates, it's important. Now, let's hear what the Prime Minister had to say at the launch of WASH on the 30th of September 2023.
Important for us to remember that this is not a government program. The government is one of the partners in the program. The community groups, the volunteers, the business community, they have all come together to make this program a reality. The contractors, they're all part of this program. So this is not a Deacon Mitchell, this is not an MP, this is not a government program. This is a program where all of us, as it says, will come together to build our nation.
Okay. Now, Nation Builders, according to their documents, was registered on September 12th. And if you look on the screen, you'll see the documents there. Now, listen to the Nation Builder himself, Mr. Orlando Romaine.
Grenada is ours, right? And following the June 23 election, we recognize the energy levels of Grenadians is high. And everybody is eager to get involved in nation building and to play their part. But we also recognize that the interaction with government agencies could sometimes be quite bureaucratic and frustrating. We have persons in the diaspora wanting to give back, wanting to contribute, and the process sometimes frustrates them and discourages them. So we recognize that, and we've designed a program that seeks to alleviate those barriers. And it's called Nation Builders. Essentially, Nation Builders is a program that seeks to connect citizens, private sector, and the government in a seamless way to engage in community-based activities. So, for example, if I want to build a playground, instead of going to the ministry, and in some instances, I mean, not with this government, but previous governments, they get it run around, you get frustrated and you just withdraw your services. There's an entity now that will facilitate that process for you to ensure that your projects are heard, recognized, and that we channel it to the right ministry or agency for fast implementation. Nation Builders would also seek to collaborate with the private sector. So, for example, I may have an idea for a playground, I have $10,000, but I need another $20,000 to make the program a reality. Through Nation Builders, we will facilitate the pooling of resources by collaborating with the private sector, collaborating with other citizens to ensure the effective execution of those projects. So essentially, Nation Builders is a facilitator for citizens' involvement in the building of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Do any of you just go to slide 2? So again, Nation Builders will be a division under the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation, and Transformation that aims to enhance community engagement and the collaboration between government, citizens in Grenada by addressing the bureaucratic obstacles and promoting volunteerism. The division fosters an active civic involvement and empowers individuals to participate in community projects for the nation's development. Why Nation Builders? 1, we see Grenadians home and abroad, they're pumped, they're eager, and they want to do their part. 2, transformation, we believe, is a we thing. It doesn't reside in the domains of these 15 persons here. It really resides in the hands of all Grenadians. And we want to ensure everybody has the ability to play their part. 3, currently contributing to nation building is quite bureaucratic and frustrating. And 4, we believe proper systems and processes results in better implementation, hence the reason for Nation Builders. Again, this is just an outline of what Nation Builders seeks to do: create a structured mechanism for the initiation and execution of community-based projects. 2, to inspire and encourage Grenadians to become more involved in the activities of nation building. 3, to connect citizens, members of the private sector, and the Grenadian diaspora with local community projects and initiatives. 4, to promote volunteerism and the ideas around nation building and leadership in Grenada. And 3, to publicize the projects that are currently happening.
Now, there goes Mr. Orlando Romain, whose girlfriend, baby mama, whatever it is, one of the 3. And just 3 directors in such a large NGO that has so much to carry on its back. Nationally, it's a bit fishy, wouldn't you say? And so, bureaucracy. Why? In my mind, there's nothing wrong with bureaucracy. Of course, in some cases, it takes forever to get through the red tape, but you don't have to eliminate bureaucracy. And I find it necessary to say that this administration seems to want to not have to work with bureaucracy. Something fishy there again. Now, here we go. On the 25th of September, 2023, Cabinet considered a submission made by Minister for Mobilization, Implementation, and Transformation, let me get it right, and approved funding assistance to the WASH project in the amount of $500,000, $500,000. Keep in mind, the MP's pronouncement, not the MP's, but the Prime Minister's, I'm sorry, the Prime Minister's pronouncement on faith, right, about monies, the government monies being handed over to the NGO. And this whole thing happened in, I would say, in a month, the month of September there, all the dates. And even before the company was registered, monies were passing through the company. Listen to this. The monies came from the budget of the Grenada Home Improvement Program, the housing program, allocated to the constituency of St. David, the Prime Minister's constituency. The Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs was made to transfer that amount to the Nation Builders, Inc. for the WASH program. The minister then being Honorable Philip Telesford. So government funds was transferred to the NGO, Nation Builders, a couple of weeks, within a couple of weeks, all this transaction took place. $500,000. I give you that to ponder on while you listen to what Minister or former Minister Ron Redded had to say.
As Minister Andrews mentioned, in his ministry, there are corruption. In my ministry, there are serious corruption. In fact, Minister mentioned that some should have made a jail. In my ministry, some will make a jail, right? Because we cannot continue to have that. Now, I am not called the hatchet man. I operate with a different tactic.
Still waters run.
Yeah. So, we have been able, Brother Kim, Brother Milton, and Scooby, we have been able to identify a series of corrupt practices and operations in the country.
And it's been going for a while.
And it's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
And what we are doing is to slowly but surely dismantle that. As we consistently say, the resources of the state belongs to the people. And that is where it must be spent.
Corrupt practices have been going on, and it's still going on. Folks, what or who is Nation Builders really? Is it true that Nation Builders is a grouping within the NDC who are not NDCites? Is it true they are using the NDC as a gravy train? Were any of the Nation Builders card-bearing members or even supporters of the NDC before October 2022? As Arsenio all used to say, where is the NDC? I mean, where's the NDC? Have you heard the NDC? Have you been seeing the NDC in your, and I'm speaking about the NDC party. Where is the NDC? Oh, that's all we might have, huh? I say one gone, more to go. Lest we forget this clip by Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell at the SLP convention.
I will tell you a little thing about my party, because we have lived the divided you fall, and we have lived the united we stand. In 2008, after a decade in opposition, the people of Grenada elected the National Democratic Congress into office. And within 2 years of being in office, the division started. Men who had power and who couldn't even use the power started to fight for more power. Let me say that again. Men who had power, the people elected them into office. They couldn't use the power for which the people elected them. But instead of using the power to do the people's work, they started to fight amongst themselves. In conferences like that, men get thrown out, women get thrown out, legendary trade union leaders get thrown out, party general secretary get thrown out. Parliament couldn't sit because men don't have a majority. Elections were called in 2013. The party that I now led, after having a 11-15 majority in Parliament, lost every single seat in the 2013 elections. Instead of learning from the lessons and saying, let us put our differences aside. Let us come together for the people of Grenada. Let us come together for the National Democratic Congress. 5 years in opposition wasn't enough. They continued the division. They continued the fighting. Elections were called in 2018. And the National Democratic Congress, pardon my French, got its ass cut again, 15-0.
The National Democratic Congress. Who's the National Democratic Congress? Is it my party, my home? It's the National Democratic Congress. Got its ass cut again. More and more, I wonder and keep looking for that line between party and government since this NDC administration, and I say NDC quote unquote, administration came into office. More and more. To me, well, the line was blurred a long time, early, very early into their reign, but now I'll say it has disappeared. And I'll tell you why. I see our press secretary doing an advertisement for the member for St. David. And I say the member for St. David because it was advertising some of the achievements of the St. David constituency. It is the constituency of the Prime Minister, but at times he is the member for St. David's and not the Prime Minister of Grenada. Take a look at this clip.
Welcome to the Barrett Community Centre, refurbished with the kind support of the Singapore Heng Cheng Development Limited, under the leadership of the Honourable Deacon Mitchell, Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for St. David.
Who is paying the press secretary? Is it the NDC party or the government and people of Grenada? The ambassador to the diaspora. Now that one is heart-wrenching. I mean, I spoke about it already and I have to speak about it again because he continued to speak and to advocate and for the NDC party. Mr. Terry Forrester, our ambassador to the diaspora, for all of the diaspora, green, red, yellow, or black, continue to host the NDC party radio program as an NDC activist. Again, who is paying Mr. Forrester? is it the NDC party? Well, he must get paid for the radio program. Who is paying him as ambassador for the diaspora? I mean, how much more blatant can you get? He's an NDC activist who is a member of the NEC, the National Executive Committee of the NDC. He's the deputy PRO of the party. And I mean, you could say he's the PRO. Where is the NDC PRO? Have you seen him ever on screen defending the party, speaking on behalf of the party, updating us on the party, where we are, where they're going? Have you ever seen that? So, Mr. Terry Forrester, who is being paid by the government and people of Grenada, pick side, and he is an NDC activist. So I say the NNP and other supporters are the people in the middle of the road. Not everybody is NDC and NNP, right? Who do they turn to? Who do they turn to? I am making a plea on this program. Remove Mr. Terry Forrester as ambassador to the diaspora. And don't try to remove him from the executive or the radio program, because we all know who he is now. NMP did that one time when people complained. I think that it was Mr. Swan was on the board of the Public Service Commission. And the NDC, we kicked up a storm because he was an executive member of the NNP. And they removed him from the executive of the NNP and left him in the commission. But these days, the whole commission of the NDC, the whole Public Service Commission are NDC members, NDC, right up there in the NDC. Nobody said a word. Nobody said a word. Where's Uncle Tilly? Well, I guess signing for his instrument to act as Governor General. Speaking of the diaspora, it's been a while. I've been wanting to address the diaspora, but with the overload of content, I kept pushing it back. I have it all put together and ready to go. I had to leave it out. I wanted to do it, especially at the end of the year, so we can have a new beginning in 2024. It didn't happen. So much so we had changes in it because we know that Ron Redhead was fired and he's no longer a minister. And of course, there was that shuttle. However, we'll deal with it. I'll deal with it. Now, I don't know how many of you noticed that, except for the New York chapter, NDC chapter, and they do have right alongside of them, parallel, the Deacon Mitchell support group. But except for New York, almost everywhere else, if not everywhere else, what we have is the Deacon Mitchell support groups. No longer can we say that it's the NDC chapter here and the NDC chapter. That's what we had when I was there. But now what we have is the Deacon Mitchell support group. And in New York, it's headed by one of the biggest scammers, crook, con woman there is between Grenada and New York. Was arrested by the FBI, is still on the FBI watch list. Family got arrested and charged and convicted and went to jail. Partner still in jail. This is who we have heading the Deacon Mitchell support group in New York. I think it's bad here. Now, before I move on, I have a question to ask. And it was given to me by someone in the diaspora. coming from New York, of course. Who is Belva, and why is that name given to persons trying to register for membership of the NDC party through the Deacon Mitchell support group as the name to write the checks to? As I was saying, no longer there are NDC chapters in the diaspora. The support is for Deacon Mitchell. It is obvious that NDC was used as a gravy train to take nation builders where they want to go and fast. Now, this Deacon Mitchell support groups are or is a dangerous precedent, in my opinion. You guys stay out there. Some of you have never touched the soil of Grenada. Those that are of parents of Grenada. They have Grenadian parentage, so to speak. There are those who, since they left Grenada, never step back, never put their foot back on this piece of rock. There are those who have never given a dime to this country in any way, But today, Deacon Mitchell support group and you up and competing among yourselves, who could produce the best gala. And you dress up and you're in front and everybody posing. While we here in Grenada, our people here in Grenada, your family in Grenada, that some of you had blackmailed, for want of a better word, to vote for NDC or else. And they do it because they're sitting here getting remittances from you guys and handouts. And some of you might have even come in and fought for the NDC, the ones who come home often, they miss their country and they come home. It happened before, mind you, I know. Plain Lords came down and voted for NNP before, but we condemned it. As an NDC party, we condemned it. And now I hear they lining up because you're telling them to come home for the celebrations, register when you come home, so you can go back. And when you come back, you can vote in the next election, which is against the law of Grenada. Because you have to be a citizen of Grenada for 12 months, a year, before you can vote, come in to vote. So why not? NNP break the law, why can't we? The more things change, the more they remain the same. And that is the sole purpose of this diaspora groupings. Because if there's no diaspora, you're falling flat already. Because Canadians have already realized that there's no change. And it's worse than what went before. But you sit over there enabling the wrongdoings that happens here. For what? All because of the hate for one man, Keith Mitchell. So you don't care how much trouble we see. We don't see, as always say, under NNP. We vote for change and we see more trouble now under the NDC. Now you leave your people, some of them, bawling with their mouth closed, suffering with their mouth closed. And you are out there enabling their suffering, enabling victimization, nepotism, corruption, tribalism, you name it, more blatant than ever, more blatant. But all you care about is our beloved Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell. And nothing wrong with that, You can support him. but not blindly, as the young lady said earlier on. Not blindly. You're more active in social media than the Grenadians. So when sometimes people see all this thing and, oh, leave the party alone and leave the members of the diaspora. We here living under an administration with no compassion whatever for the poor and the vulnerable, for the ordinary man. It's a grasper and grab it situation that's going on. What they say, they have the belly and the guts. In the words of a cabinet minister, sometimes our acting prime minister, I'll come to that, I'll go through that. Listen to this audio. And this is mostly for you people in the diaspora. I want you all to listen. And if you're in the diaspora and you've listened, share it with some of the Deacon Mitchell support groups. Listen.
Hi, Barrister, pleasant good morning to you. How are you this morning?
I'm good, friend. Thanks, and you?
Well, thank God for life, but oh God, I have a burning heart this morning. My barrister, I have a nephew. 10 years now, he cleaning the pasture in Lara, in the playing field. Shortly after the election, he get a lot of threats that he don't need work and he have to leave. But he don't bother with them, he continue working. But he have some health issue, which he going through. And he have two fellas, whenever he cannot make it, he have two fellas he paid to go and do the work for him, which the ministry is aware of. When he cannot make it, he have two fellas cleaning it. He went to the hospital. He spent a month down there. He spent Christmas, New Year's. Friday gone while in the hospital. They call his son from the ministry and tell his son they have a letter for the father. The son go and he collect it. He bring it to the hospital for the father. Oh God. The man doing dialysis 3 times for the week. Oh God, they don't have a heart. And they preaching heart and love them, or just draw a heart and put on the chest. Mr. Prime Minister, I don't know if you are aware of it, but if you know about it, try to fix it, because right now the man needs some money to go and do dialysis. 10 years now since he working there. Look what he is not nice, barrister. He hurt me. He hurt me to get a letter in hospital. He cannot go back and work. The most important thing is getting the work, they getting the work done. He paying fellas to do it. He hurt me hard. My barrister, you have a good day. It's not nice, and these people could never see good. Have a good day, my barrister.
Now, the letter came from the Ministry of Sports, and on the 9th of January 2024, to Mr. Wayne Noel, field contractor from St. David. Dear Mr. Noel, termination of engagement. Reference is made to your engagement with the Government of Grenada, Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports, and Culture. But I didn't know culture is still in education. As far as I know, culture has been removed ever since this new administration. To maintain the Laura and Barrett playing field in St. David's from the 1st of June 2022 to the 31st of May 2024. In accordance with the terms and conditions of your engagement, which state, and I'm quoting, either party may terminate this contract by submitting at least 1 calendar month notice in writing to the other party. So they make sure they put in writing and they sent it to the man in his hospital bed to fire him. Regrettably, okay, let me continue. Regrettably, the ministry informed that your service would no longer be required effective the 11th of February, 2024. The Ministry of Youth and Sports, thank you for your services rendered. Thank you for your services rendered in maintaining the said playing field over the past years and wishes you every success in your future endeavors. In his future endeavor, on a hospital bed for months, he's been there. Spent Christmas and New Year there. You're taking away his livelihood. And this gentleman, as I understand it, even if he's not able to do the field when he's going through his relapse with his kidneys, he would send 2 guys to make sure they keep maintaining the fields that he was contracted to take care of. But he's sick. He's ill. He's been in hospital for more than 2 months. Nobody lies down in the hospital Christmas and New Year and nothing happened to them. He's ill, very ill. He needs his salary to pay for his dialysis 3 times a week. Who does that? In any good conscience, even if you have to pay the man and you have to hire someone else to do the field. People get sick. I think that's what we pay NIS for as well. The man is ill. The man is not pretending to be sick. He is ill. And for good conscience, you get a lotto to pay a friend of a minister. Ian Django Thomas is collecting a salary of $5,000 from the lottery for doing nothing in the Ministry of Youth and Sports, but his friend decided to compensate him for helping him campaign. That was the former minister, Ron Redhead. But you can't pay a man who's ill and lying in a bed at the hospital you sent his termination letter to him there. Job for the boys and job for the girls to continue in the circle. Brother, sister, mother, boyfriend, girlfriend. All who on the executive get back jobs 15 years later, dust off the cobweb. And they back in ministries underperforming like they did initially. In charge of culture, hello? And you take away the bread of a dying man, sick in his bed, need to stay alive by the little monies he getting. You took that away. Do you know your beloved Prime Minister is sitting as head of a failed cabinet? And that's to you in the diaspora. All of you in the Deacon Mitchell support groups. A failed cabinet. Do you know that sitting in his cabinet is a crook, a conman, and a fraudster? And it's okay for our beloved Prime Minister to leave this individual as acting Prime Minister on more than one occasion. As acting Prime Minister, came in a few months, less than 6 months, he got a $300,000 loan from the Development Bank through the MSME program for small hotels and tourism-related entities, none of which he's a part of, but he got a $300,000 loan from that, from the Development Bank. In less than 2 months after that, he got another loan 2 point something, almost $3 million from the said development bank that's there for the farmers and small businesses. From that NDC board directors, from the chairperson who is the treasurer of the NDC, she's advisor to the government, she's ambassador, giving Orlando stiff competition. Ms. Andrea Sinbala. She's the chairman of the board, and the rest of the directors are all NDC supporters and members, and I don't know, right? So it's play. It's play money, it's monopoly that they're inside the development bank, so you could play up with it and do what you want with it. And have them young people who trying to get a loan from that bank scraping up from the ground, if they could make it, to try and get a loan. And do you know, in our cabinet sitting is a member who is a domestic abuser. In other words, abuses their wife, their partner. And folks, I can go on, but the 90 minutes is coming close to an end. Also being left as our acting prime minister. We have an acting prime minister who has addictions. And I say sadly because they need help. An addiction is an illness. So the brother needs help, an intervention maybe. But he's one of the better guys when it comes to competence within that cabinet. It takes 5 months now to get a work permit. We need the capacity, and when foreigners come into work, it takes forever for them to get a work permit because we gave an incompetent minister 4 strong, big, strong ministries to run. And of course, we had the notorious Ron Reddit, but he's fired now. We know all about him, the fraud he committed while in office very early. It was about a year now. He sold a vehicle that did not belong to him. The last thing he did was to start a bill on property that does not belong to the government, and they did not go through the channels to get it. Infrastructure knew nothing about it. Planning knew nothing about it until the owners fenced it, and the story goes on. Some of you might know the story. But it's a set of incompetence. Our Ministry of Health has hit an all-time low, our healthcare system, I should say. An all-time low. And this is an administration said by the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, that they were going to put on the front burner. Nothing so. Well, I don't know if it's on the front burner, but the property wasn't lit. Probably it wasn't lit. Now, we cannot continue so. But you're out there, instead of making organizing galas for the healthcare system to save the lives of our mothers and their babies, our diabetics, our cancer patients, our kidney patients, help us with that. No, it's gala after gala after gala to build a so-called NDC headquarters to put a feather in your Deacon Mitchell cap. And our hospital doesn't have medication. We have short of staff. The works. We've said it time and time. Everybody know where our healthcare system is at the moment. Folks, the theme for our 50th anniversary of independence celebration is Up From Here, One People, One Journey, One Future. And we had a statement released from the Prime Minister's office stating that ministers of government and members of parliament will distribute the 50th independence pins to secondary students across Grenada. Here we have seen that nothing like that happened. And I've spoken to parliamentary representatives from the opposite side, because I like to get my facts. I don't just go in by the minister was the MP was not there, and so they didn't invite them. I would like to know why they were not there. Maybe they were invited, but they just didn't go, or they couldn't go. But I was told that they were not invited. And up to last night, I messaged one again to make sure. And she told me she was not invited. That is Minister MP, Kate Lois. And there we go. We're seeing that in her constituency, someone who is not even in the government of Grenada, not in the cabinet, much less to be a minister or a MP, Ms. Tessa Sincere, pinning away in schools. We didn't say it. They put out the release that said it was for ministers and members of parliament. Representatives. They said it. What exactly is that? What exactly is that? There you see her. You see, there's a photo there. Putting pins on schoolmates. And we say one people. That's one people. The so-called NDC people. Though they were talk everywhere about that. It made the news. This past week or weekend, I'm not sure, I think it was yesterday. We see her again with the MP for St. Andrew Northwest, who had her own thing put together to put up on a billboard, a piece of plywood, chaka as ever. Our most distinguished Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, Eric Matthew Gary, Sir Eric Matthew Gary, who we are more or less celebrating at this point in time. Right? Herself, that's number 10, and Ms. Sincere again, and the Minister of Education, who ran for St. Andrew Southeast and didn't make it. He's not an MP. And Sister Gloria Thomas, not an MP. They're posing in front of this atrocious sight of the former Prime Minister, this billboard, right? They put up because the former leader of the GULP, Mr. Michael Batiste, a former leader, was asking for something for Sir Eric Gary to be put up in his constituency where he was from. So to show that, oh, I'm busy, I'm doing things, I'm in the cabinet now, and look, you see, I'm doing things. Basically, pound two piece of wood onto a plywood and put up this awful looking structure and posing in front of it. And again, well, this time they didn't leave out Honorable Kate. Number 10, sent her a message on Facebook, a Facebook message inviting her. And then she said she realized this thing was not a national event, but she thought she'd still go. And when she pulled up and she saw who was there, it was just activists of the NDC, and it was not a national event. She didn't even get out of her vehicle. She turned around and left. But she was invited through Facebook. No official invitation because it was not an official event. Folks, you see there, look at the photos, look at them, all posing. They could pose, give them that. If nothing else, they could pose. the Calypso semifinals. Well, I think that's for another day because I'm almost out of time. But I want to see that just looking at the Calypsonians, listening to them first of all, they have left out a whole chunk of our history because they don't want to have to call Dr. Keith Mitchell's name in their songs or the NNP or that period in time because they may not get picked. And when you look at their clothing, and I have to laugh because the green on the flag was only in either piping or a little, you know, the little flap that has come over the pockets. That's where the green was. I saw it in one of the ladies. It was an underneath part. You could see it from underneath the green. Everybody wore red and yellow. The trees, and I want to commend whose idea it was to put cloth, to wrap cloth around the trees instead of painting it, because we'd have to live with that ISO for how long when it gets dirty and it's, you know, it's just terrible looking. So the cloth, you can just unwrap it. Excellent, excellent idea. I saw Minister Andy stapling cloth. A wonderful idea. But I have the eyes for these things. And what I saw was green was below, came under all the time. I mean, nobody even made a mistake and put green on the top or in the middle. Not one at a time. It was yellow on the top, up, up, up. And Sister Gabrielle is to say up, up, and out. Right? When she had miserable kids in the school who not doing their work at all, just making trouble, she didn't keeping them down. They fail up. And she used to say, y'all going up, 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 and out of her school. So, yeah, they didn't even make a mistake at no point. Yellow, red, and green at the bottom. It was funny to me. I had to chuckle. I had to chuckle. Folks, we're in a sad place. We're in a sad place. I want you to listen to this clip of the Prime Minister on tribalism.
So I reassure my colleagues and public that there will in fact be multiple opportunities for bipartisanship in the House, in government, and in public service. And I probably understand since the days from NDC. I hope never again we don't confuse the role of Parliament with the role of government.
It's all good to say these nice things when you're trying to get into office. But by God, we are accustomed to that, and we've seen it over and over, and we complain about it. Nobody's learning from anybody else's mistakes. Why do we do that to our people? Why do we do that to our people? We come to the end of this episode. This is a wrap on Simon Says for today. It's been a pleasure, as usual, conversing with you, keeping them honest. Thank you for joining Simon Says, where facts come first. See you next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Simon Says. I leave you with 2 clips. FYI.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.